Hi dear friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. It's already December, so it's time to wrap up all of the reads that I had in November. I already did like a mid-month or recent reads video for November for the first part of the month. I'm going to link it up in the cards if you want to check it out. And then I'm going to talk about all of the books that I finished in the later part of November. And you're going to notice a trend there because I'm really already very much in a Christmassy mood. I'm very much getting into the holiday spirit. So I've read quite a few novellas and novels that center around the holiday theme and holiday period. And I actually have a reading vlog coming up for all of those books. So I'm not going to discuss them in length or in like big detail. I'm just going to tell you whether I like them or not. And the other books that I read are ones that I really enjoyed. I really had a good reading month in November. I had quite a few 4-star reads, a couple of 5-star reads at the start of the month, and I'm really happy with the books that I've been picking up. So I'm going to discuss all of them right now. The first book that I picked up halfway throughout November was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I've heard mixed messages about, like mixed opinions about this book. And because it's such an interesting kind of a fantasy romance, because thing is, within fall and winter period, that is the time when I typically pick up fantasy romances because you have more time to be at home and really focus on the details of those books. So that's when I pick up fantasy romances, and I was really in the mood for a fantasy. And this one sounded like a different type of fantasy romance than what I typically would have picked up, because I typically don't read any historicals. And this one is a young adult historical romance with a touch of fantasy in it. It centers on two characters. Both of them are journalists at this, I don't know, what is it called, like a periodical or some kind of a newspaper. And both of them are vying for the same position. So they're kind of rivals, and definitely the girl is more antagonized by the guy than the guy, but both of them are kind of very much aware that both of them have talent and both of them really have a chance to make this position. And they're writing in times of war, but the interesting thing is that they don't write about the war. They give them different types of assignments to write about, and both of them are actually very much interested in what is going on, but they aren't really allowed to write about it. And the interesting fantasy aspect within the book is that the girl, she has a brother who has gone off to war to fight in the war, and she writes him those letters in this kind of an old-fashioned typewriter. And when she folds the letter and she puts it like under her brother's door, it disappears. So someone gets those letters and someone is reading them, and then one day she receives a message back and she starts a letter exchange through this doorway. And the interesting part is, I don't want to spoil anything within the story, but the interesting part is that after she figures out that she doesn't want to stay in the position that she's in, she goes to the war front to start being a correspondent, a war correspondent. And a lot of things happen from that point on. This is going to be a series. The second book is coming up, I think, in a couple of months' time, and I'm very much invested now. I really enjoyed the story. Typically, I'm not very much a historical fiction type of person. I don't pick up many of those books, but when I do, and it's one that really grabs my attention like this one, I definitely want to continue it on. So I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's not very much focused on the romance, which I actually enjoyed in this situation, because it does require a bit of world building to see what kind of a wartime they're going through, so that you can kind of commiserate with them and have the empathy for them for what they're going through. So I really did appreciate that, but I'm very much invested to see how the romance will pan out in the next book. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Now, the next books that I picked up, it's a novella and then the full-length novel by the same author, Emily Rath. The novella is That One Night, and then the full-length novel is Pucking Around. This is a why choose, or more actually a polyamorous book between a heroine and three guys. The novella actually is the story of how the woman meets one of the guys and they spend the night together and they immediately catch feelings, but they both of them drift apart because they live in different locations. He's a hockey player, she is training to be a medical, I don't know, it's like a physical therapist or something like that. And they basically spend the night together. They have a wonderful night, but both of them live in different locations, so they split up. And then the book, interestingly enough, is about the same hockey player, but also the woman who gets the opportunity to work with his hockey team in the medical team. And she starts to have a relationship with him, with his best friend, who is the hockey team's equipment manager, and also with a goalie. So he is also part of the team. She has like a very much a split relationship with each and every one of them, but there is group play involved in this book. And when I started to read this book, it's going to be included in another vlog that I'm going to post next month or this month. It's a very, very long book. I think together the novella and the full-length book are about 800 pages, which really I felt the 800 pages. I did appreciate the detail. I did appreciate that the author was building the relationships like separately, so you could really see how she was connected with each of the guys. I really did appreciate that, but honestly, it could have done with a couple of steamy scenes less, because it was full of sex scenes. And while obviously some of them were really, really well done, it just got really repetitive at some point. So that is why I gave both of the books 4 stars. I really did enjoy them, but it could have been just a bit shorter, in my opinion. Next up, I picked up a book that I really was looking forward to, because the first book that I read by this author last year was one that I really enjoyed. The first book was called A Proposal They Can't Refuse. It's by Natalie, Cana, and then the follow-up book, it's a standalone companion to the first book. It's called A Dish Best Served Hot, and it's in the same world. We're following the brother of the heroine from book 1, one of the brothers, and he's a single dad, and he has a romance with, it's a second chance romance with a woman who is part of their community. She becomes a teacher at the school where his daughter is going. And also she is very much part of the community, because the first book was very much dealing with the gentrification of the neighborhood, and this one is also heavily dealing with that. And she very much wants to protect this building that is used as like a shelter for teenage kids that have it rough, especially kids who come from a queer background. So she's very much involved in the community, and they start to butt heads because he actually needs to take a job in construction because one of his family members is sick, and he's going to be helping out the companies that are involved in the gentrification within the neighborhood. So they definitely butt heads on that. But at the same time, they have unresolved feelings. They definitely have an attraction to one another. And she also builds a relationship with his kids. So it's a very good read. I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book. I have to say the first book really took me by surprise, and I really enjoyed that one. And then this one I enjoyed, but not as much as the first one. I did give it 4 stars, and I definitely would recommend it. And then I kind of went on a Christmas binge after that, because I was reading so many amazing Christmassy stories. I don't know what it was. I don't know how it came that I picked up so many amazing stories, because most of them I gave 4 or 5 stars. There's only one that kind of disappointed me, but I'm going to give you the titles and the ratings that I gave them, because like I mentioned, I'm going to have a vlog coming out about these books, so you're going to hear all of my thoughts on them in that vlog. The first book that I picked up is A Wish for Christmas, which is by Courtney Cole. This one features my all-time favorite trope, and that is marriage in trouble. And it's a book with a touch of magical realism. And it's very, very Christmassy. So if you're looking for a book that has a lot of Christmassy things in it, definitely pick this book up because it's definitely worth it. This one I gave 4 stars. And then I picked up a novella. It's quite short. I read the audiobook for it and it was about like 2 hours or so. And this book is called Studmuffin Santa by Tawna Fenske. This one features a military hotshot guy who is hired as the Santa for a reindeer farm, and the romance is between himself and the owner of the reindeer farm, and it's actually a romance between them. They actually know each other from high school. They didn't used to have a relationship, so it's not a second chance or anything, but she definitely always had a thing for him. And it's so cute and it's so wonderful, and it does pack a punch. So there are a couple of serious topics within this book that I didn't anticipate specifically when looking at the cover, but I really, really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. And then the book that kind of disappointed me is called The Perfect Place by Allyson Morgan. I really had high hopes for it because it sounded good on paper, and also the cover for it is really gorgeous, but it doesn't end in happily ever after. So that is the first disappointment. And then I had a couple of other things that you're going to hear about in the vlog. So unfortunately, I didn't really love this one. It has forced proximity because the hero and heroine share an apartment, and they're enemies to lovers because they want to have the apartment for themselves. So they're kind of trying to get the one of them kicked out. So yeah, it just didn't hit the right spot for me. So this one I gave 2 stars. Another Christmassy read that I absolutely loved is A Holly Jolly Ever After by Sierra Simone and Julie Murphy. This is again a standalone companion within the same series as the previous book, which was called, I don't remember what it was called. But that first book I read last year, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars, and I didn't really think that this one could top it for me. But this one I definitely enjoyed more because it was more up my alley, specifically because of the heroine. The heroine just got divorced. She's coming from a very much religious and very much kind of an oppressive kind of family. She used to be a child star, so she had a family that was very controlling with her. She's finally breaking out of her shell. She's starting to make decisions for herself, and she decides to participate in an adult Christmas movie. And she is starring opposite one of the guys who is part of the boy band that is introduced in the first book. And I'm not going to say more because you're going to hear more of my thoughts in the vlog, but I really, really, really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars. And then just to take a break from the Christmassy reads, I read 2 hockey romances that again are very wintry. So I'm kind of in a mood right now, like hockey and Christmas. Those are my 2 moods at the moment. So the first book that I picked up is Against the Boards by Cynthia Gunderson. This book I picked up because I'm preparing a hockey recommendation video that I kind of wanted to have different books on the list with different types of tropes, not only the hockey trope, but kind of to have like a more steamy one, a low steam one, and this one is the low steam one that I wanted to recommend, and I really did enjoy it, so I'm definitely going to include it in that video. The book features fake dating and brother's teammate, and what goes on in this book. So how the book starts is there is this amazing meet cute of the heroine finding the hero's driver's license in front of this supermarket, and she first tries to go to the supermarket to say, hey, can you take care of the guy who has dropped this, that you can find the person so that you can give it back. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to do that, you need to go to the police and drop it off there and see whether they can find him. But someone told her, yeah, they're not gonna really do anything with it, so if you have an address on the driver's license, you can better just drop it off there. And that's what she did, and that's how she met the hero, and they have this amazing chemistry together, and also a very interesting mutual history that they weren't aware of. So yeah, it's a very fun read. It's low stakes and also and also low steam. So just a more laid back kind of a read. So yeah, I really definitely did enjoy it, and I gave it 3.5 stars. And the next hockey romance that I picked up is Time to Shine by Rachel Reid. This book is a male-male hockey romance between two teammates. One of the teammates plays for like a amateur team, and he gets invited to play in the big leagues, where I'm not sure what it's called, the big league, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but in the hockey league, like in the NHL, for a team as the goalie, because the original goalie of that team gets injured, so he can kind of be a substitute for that goalie. He gets there, it's his dream spot. And one of the guys from the team, he's like the life of the party. He's kind of a player, and he is like, I hate being alone. I have this huge house, so please come and join me. Like, come live in my house instead of looking for an apartment. They start living together, so they have this forced proximity. One of the guys, so the guys who is already on the team, he is bisexual, while the guy who just moved to be the substitute goalie, he is questioning his sexuality in this book. He thinks he's gay, but he doesn't know for sure because he hasn't really been in a committed relationship. He's also a virgin. So it's a very interesting dynamic of them discovering their compatibility together. And also the fact that the guy who is the substitute, he is very much aware that the position that he has is very much temporary, so he doesn't want to catch feelings, because then moving back to the original team he is playing for is going to crush him. So it's kind of emotional in the end. I didn't really anticipate that, but I really did enjoy this book. The only thing that kind of made me it made it difficult for me to get into the book is that it's written in third person. So the first 30 or 40% within the book were kind of dragging for me because of the way that it was narrated through the audiobook. But then when I got into the story, I stopped focusing too much on that, and I really got into the story and I loved it. So bear in mind that it's told in third person, but it definitely is worth it once you push through the first 30% of the book. I gave it 4 stars. The last book I picked up, I totally loved. It's another Christmas themed book. It's Faking Christmas by Cindy Steele. This book took me by such a surprise because I had a couple of books planned for the reading vlog that I did, and I was like, I'm going to stick to like 3 or 4 books, but then I saw this one and I was like, I'm including this one because it sounds so good. The book features a fake dating scenario again. It also features an enemies to lovers situation between two teachers who are at the same school, and it's a guy falls first, very much Christmassy centered plot, because the two of them are on this retreat with their families, and they do a Christmas bingo where they need to do Christmas activities to get a bingo. And it's so good. I absolutely love this book. I give it 4.5 stars, and I would recommend it with both hands if you're looking for a very Christmassy read. And I can't wait to share my thoughts with you in the vlog. You're going to wait out and see. In a couple of days time I'm going to post that vlog so you can see how much I enjoyed that book. So yeah, that was the last book that I picked up in November. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. I hope if you are looking for any Christmassy reads that you're going to be able to find one here that you're going to be able to pick up and love as much as I did. And please let me know what you've been reading, what you plan on reading in the last month of the year. Can you believe it? It's already December. We're wrapping up 2023, everyone. It's such a crazy thing to me that this year just has flown by. I know everyone is saying it, but it's just, my mind is blown. My mind is blown that in a couple of days time it's going to be 2024. But I'm enjoying the last parts of this year. I'm going to tell you, I'm in such a festive mood. I'm in such a wonderful mood, also at home with my kid, just watching movies, singing Christmas songs, and enjoying those little traditions that we create together. I absolutely love it. So I hope you're having the best of time as well during this holiday period. I'm going to see you very soon because I promised you that I'm going to try to post 3 videos a week in the month of December, starting with this one, I suppose. So let's just see whether I'm going to make it. I'm going to do my best, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care. Bye-bye.